How I chose my character in the storyline and my prompts was I really tried to get into the mindset of a young woman in the 1920s trying to discover herself. I also tried to compare her or my character to myself and how I would view life if I lived in the 1920s. So I really tried to base my character on myself just in a different situation. Some challenges I faced were simply just procrastination, but what I did enjoy about this project was looking looking at a different time in a new perspective. My character is named Evelyn Williams, and she is from Savanna, Georgia, and ran away to be her true self in New York City. Here's the journal, and the question is, what's the best advice you've gotten? July 22nd, 1923. I will never forget the words of the first person to ever talk to me when I first arrived into the jazz club. Let loose, be yourself, and dance. Those three little key phrases by one of the most admirable women I've ever seen in my life was the best advice I've ever gotten and will never forget. The moment I stepped foot into that club on my first night in New York City, I must have turned everyone's heads. Oh, how silly I must have looked. I was wearing my floor-length dress with boring colors that my mother had sewed for me last year. Immediately after walking in and catching the eye of everyone there, a young woman grabbed my arm and pulled me to the corner. She looked me up and down and asked me every question about myself imaginable, and for whatever reason, I told her everything. After basically spilling out my whole life story, she stared at me for a moment and goes, "Honey, you need help." We both just laughed in agreement. She yells at one of her other friends that she will be back in about an hour and drags me back to her apartment. She told me to try on the most scandalous dress I've ever seen in my life. She pinned up my hair and told me we could get it cut later. Handing me a cigarette, we were both at the door so fast my head was spinning. We walked back into the jazz club, and this time I turned heads for all the right reasons. I felt so insecure I just wanted to go back home, but I found myself unable to stop myself from following this woman that I don't even know her name yet. As she started to go onto the dance floor and saw that I did not follow, she marched right up to me and told me that you made a choice to be here, so be here. Let loose, be yourself, and dance. The biggest smile came to my face, and everything that was holding me back before fell off of me, and I danced. In my moment of doubt, where I was ready to turn around and go home, I received the best advice I had ever gotten from the wildest woman I've ever seen.